Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Just went to the mailbox. I just got some stuff from Tackle Warehouse. So let's check it out, see what we got. Now, if you're like me, you spend way too much money on tackle and all the stuff because you're a junkie. So I'm going through my boat, seeing what I need, ordering stuff I want. Let's see what we got at Tackle Warehouse. Ooh, what do we get? Some power bait, gillies, some Savage Gear, structure gills. You know what that looks like? That looks like a dark sleeper to me. For $2, I'll take it. $2 over 8. We're gonna see if those work. We're gonna do a comparison video. Got all kinds of colors. But you know what this gilly makes me think of? Free rig. So let's head underwater. Let's check out the gilly and some other baits that I'm gonna throw on the free rig. It's big right now in bass fishing for a reason. So we'll see you out there underwater.
Hey guys, so here we have the Berkeley gilly underwater. And you can see this bait is all about secondary action. The purpose of throwing a free rig is to separate the weight from the lure so you get more subtle action out of the lure. And you can see the weight detaches there, slides down the line. You get that nice slow fall. That looks like a dying bluegill. So if I'm flipping this bait around deep weed edges, and that's what the free rig was intended to do. The farther the bait falls in the water, the longer the separation between the weight and the bait itself. So this is going to be a weightless presentation. You can throw shallow, you can throw deep, but inherently it gives it that subtle secondary action. Here you can see the gilly over some rock. Looks fantastic. Looks like a bluegill that's going down and feeding in that rock, right? Fish also love subtle action. I've talked about it so many times. If you watch the bottom from this lure, it looks like the disturbance from a normal bluegill feeding. So the free rig is just freeing up that bait to have a more natural action. In places where there's been a lot of fishing pressure, you can see that slight shimmy and kick looks like a dying bluegill there. In places where there's a lot of fishing pressure, fish are used to seeing Texas rig baits. Baits that are on jig heads, things like that. So the free rig is just a different look. Plus, the Berkeley gilly looks super duper good underwater. It's very realistic. It's a very good profile. That HD print on it looks fantastic. Anywhere that bass are feeding on bluegill, you're going to throw this, you're going to get bit. It's just a bait that I have a lot of confidence in. It's a bait that I discovered up in the northern parts of the country, fishing a lot of bluegill heavy lakes, where bass are feeding on them. And this looks like a injured, dying bluegill. It's one of those things where you can really, really, really catch them. Now, next bait up here, we have a Berkeley Jester. And I really like this bait flipping wise because it has really subtle action in those flappers on its head. Plus, it's a style bait that a lot of guys are going to pitch on a jig. They're going to pitch on a Texas rig. But if you free rig it, it frees that bait up to have some subtle action, to have a really muted action profile, but it looks really good on the bottom. You see those antennas sticking up, those other things. This bait does a really good job for me on a drop shot as well. It's one of those creature baits that's very, very versatile, and it has a subtle muted action. It's great in clear water, but it's also a bait that it's just a mix up and a change up, right? I've cut this bait in half, put it on a drop shot. It's almost like Ike's Devil Spear from back in the day with those very subtle pincher movement on this bait, and it does a really good job on the free rig. Now, next up is the Yamamoto Cowboy, and you can see slowed down here. This bait has phenomenal action on the fall on the free rig. This bait looks beautiful underwater, and it straight up catches fish too. This is a big fish bait. When I'm throwing the Cowboy on anything, I'm throwing a big profile bait. I'm throwing a big profile bait that likes to move water, and fish respond to this. I have caught so many bigger bass on this when guys are throwing like a jig next to me. I'll pick up this and throw it under docks. The free rig, though, on deep weed lines, this bait is a killer because it's going to slowly fall and it's going to pulsate all the way down just like that. And this is shallower water. It's wintertime, can't really get in the deep water right now, but the deeper the water, the farther that bait is going to fall away from that weight and the slower that it's going to fall. Here you have, a constant friend in my tackle box, the Berkeley Chigger Craw. And this bait looks amazing on a free rig. You watch that weight fall away, you watch that bait slow down and kind of subtly fall to the bottom there. That bait is going to get chewed. When I first started throwing this bait, I threw it on a unpegged Texas rig in 14 or 15 feet of water up in Minnesota. And let me tell you, I caught so many bass doing that because of that separation of the Texas rig. Let me tell you this, the free rig will upsize and change up your bite pattern so much because that unattached weight, because of the freedom of movement that bait has. It just calls out to the fish and it's subtle. In pressured water, which is pretty much anywhere anymore, this bait really excels, right? I think Tactical Bassin did a video on the free rig like 2 months ago where they had their kids out there catching bass on Chickamauga on a free rig, and they were smoking them. Chick is a very, very, very pressured lake. If they're doing that on Chick, that should show you that the pressure factor on these is great. Now, you can also flip a free rig. I love flipping a 4-inch tube. This is an Ike's Smash tube from Havoc. I bought a whole bunch of these back in the day to flip tubes because I really enjoy flipping tubes. And this bait on a free rig falls perfectly. But on the bottom, it gives you a whole different perspective and profile on that tube. I'm all for throwing a tube in places that you normally wouldn't throw a tube. I'm all for that slow fall, but I'm all for the reactivity of a tube. You can see the bottom hops here are going to call fish in from a long ways. And when you're fishing smallmouth are dumb. I've seen smallmouth hit, the bottom of a drop shot weight. I've seen smallmouth hit weights and all, but the free rig separates that weight out. It slows down that bait and it gives it that stand-up profile there. Here you have the Zoom 4-inch crawworm. Once again, one of my favorites. It's a trailer for everything. Here I'm using it in the 4-inch variety, and it looks great on the free rig. It's just a bait that's going to get bit when other things won't. It's subtle. It's got those offset color crawfish pinchers on it. I really like that in the bait. I like that dual color action. But number one is all of these baits are subtle baits, right? You want subtle baits on the free rig because you're banking on fish in pressured situations liking the disconnect from the weight in the bait and the slower nature of it when it falls in deeper water. If you're fishing deep weed lines, this is a technique you need to try. 24/7, 365, fish are going to bite that free rig. It's just something that works really, really well, and you can catch them doing it.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed getting underwater, checking out the free rig, checking out the Berkeley Gilly underwater. The channel's growing. Let us know what baits you want to see underwater. We got a whole bunch of new stuff from Tackle Warehouse. We're going to get underwater. We're going to get you guys the video that you want to see, the techniques that you want to see. If you want to see something underwater, let us know in the comment section. We'll try to snag it and get some underwater footage to help you be a better angler. Hey, we'll see you out there, guys. See you next time.